Hello everyone, it's Myung-Kul. Today I am going to read S66054 Expedition Down Under, Chapter 1. I love the end of January. We won't have any big holidays for a while. Arnold said, looking at our big wall calendar. He was right. We're in the last week of January and the calendar was completely blank. Why is that good? I asked. I always have really great trips around the holidays. Exactly. I'm looking forward to some nice normal days in the classroom. Just then Miss Frizzle came hopping in the door. Good morning, class. She sang out Happy Australia Day. Oh no. Arnold groaned when he saw a special outfit. I shouldn't have said anything. What are you smiling about, DA? Phoebe asked. I was glad she had asked. I held up a copy of an Australia field guide. I've just been reading about all the interesting wildlife in Australia. I told the class. I was in charge of a class project on wildlife for school's annual science fair. I love science. Keep my science notebooks and the medal I won at last year's science fair with me all the time. Australia has some of the most unusual wildlife anywhere, I told the class. That's right, old mate. Miss Frizzle said, can you tell the class why that is? Righto, radio means alright. Because Australia is completely separated from any other land, so species that develop differently than in the rest of the world, I said proudly. That means Australia is a very different place, said the Frege. Who has heard of a dingo, wallaby, or wombat? Miss Frizzle asked. I was the only one who raised my hand. I've heard of a wallaby. I said it's a small kangaroo. But a numbat, echidna, kookaburra. I've heard of a kookaburra, Phoebe said excitedly, but I don't know what it is. I've heard of a kookaburra too, said Arnold. What is it? I had to admit I didn't know. I opened the Australia field guide and turned the page, but I couldn't find the listing for a kookaburra. I think I've heard of it too, said Ralphie while I was hunting through the field guide. Isn't there a song about the kookaburra? That's right, Ralphie, said the Frege. Let's sing the kookaburra song to start our Australia Day celebration. What's Australia Day anyway? Asked. Phoebe looked at me and I shrugged my shoulder. Australia Day marked an arrival of the first settlers in Australia. Australians always celebrate Australia Day on January 26th. And that's today. All right, class. Let's sing the kookaburra song, said the Frege. Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. Merry, merry king of the bush is he. Laugh, kookaburra, gay your life must be. We practiced the song together until we all knew it. And then we split up into groups and sang in rounds. People love to sing, and she looked happy. Arnold looked pretty gloomy. I know he doesn't like to sing. What's a kookaburra? Anyway, Miss Frizzle Tima, it sounds like some kind of a crazy bear. Miss Frizzle took a tape recorder out of her safari bag. There's a tape of a kookaburra laughing, said the Frege. She pushed the button on the recorder and suddenly the room was filled with an eerie, crazy laughing sound. Must be an Australia monster, said Arnold. Or a giant laughing lizard, said Ralphie. Liz looked a little insulted. It sounds like a ghost, said Keisha. Maybe it's just a funny person who likes to eat berries, said Phoebe, looking at me. Are you sure it's real? Miss Frege, I asked. I can't find an entry for a kookaburra in my Australia field guide. May I see your book for a moment? Dorothy Ann, Miss Frizzle asked. She peered down at the book with me. I think you are missing a page, she said. I looked closer. She was right. A page had fallen out of the book. I shrugged my shoulders again. That made two mysteries. What was a kookaburra, and where had the missing page gone? Wanda thought of another one. What's a gum tree? Asked Wanda. Is it sticky? Just one of the many unusual and wonderful things in the land down under. Miss Frizzle said. Down under? As in underground? The Freeze lifted up the glass globe, spun it so that the U.S. disappeared over the top, and pointed to a big island on the bottom of the globe. That's Australia. People who don't live there call it down under. It's in the southern hemisphere, the half of Earth that's south of the equator. Arnold looked happy. Oh, that's really far away, much too far for a field trip, he said. Under his breath. Oh, it's very far, said the Freeze, but it's not too far to go to learn something new. Let's track down the kookaburra and find out what it is. Class to the bus. Miss Frizzle hopped out of the room, humming the kookaburra song. I threw my Australia field guide and my Oz dictionary into my bag and followed. You never know what you'll need on one of the Fritz trips. Maybe you would never need the dictionary to talk to the kookaburra. I couldn't wait to learn more about the land down under. Chapter 2. As soon as we got into the magic school bus and fastened the seatbelt, we heard a roaring sound. The bus had become the magic school jet. We never took jet trips at my old school. Phoebe yelled over the sound of the engines, as my uncle Melbourne always said. If you got somewhere to get, better take a jet, the Freeze said with a laugh. We practiced a kookaburra song while the jet sped through the sky. Miss Frizzle handed out snacks and read us an adventure story about some kids in Australia. Later, Liz passed out blankets and pillows, and we all took naps. When we woke up, we could see lots of hazy blue ocean below us. Look out your windows, Miss Frizzle called. Who can spot Australia? I saw a gray ship in the distance. There it is, I yelled. A weather plane tipping down. Back to your seats for landing, called the Freeze. I watched her carefully out the window. As we landed, we were passing mainland Australia and going to a small island south of Australia. As the magic school jet landed, we saw that a very tall woman with a very long black hair was there to greet us. Welcome to Tasmania, she said as she climbed aboard. She grinned at us. Tiki, thank you for meeting us here. Class, this is my good friend Tiki, or Mel, who will be our Australian tour guide. Any friend of the Fritz was sure to be in need. Tiki lives here in Tasmania, so that's why we came here first. I think she'll be able to help us find a kookaburra. She has a very special way with animals. We'll all look at one another. When the Freeze says very special, she usually means it. We looked at Tiki with even more interest. Does the kookaburra live in Tasmania? Asked Wanda. The kookaburra lives mostly on mainland Oz, although sometimes it gets as far south as here. But there are a lot of other interesting animals here. Let me introduce you to some of my friends. Miss Frizzle pushed the button and the magic school jet became the magic school zip. As soon as Tiki sat down, we took off down a grassy trail. Please reach under your seat for your safari sighting packs, said the Freeze. We got some sights to see. I took out my pack. Inside were a pair of field binoculars, disposable camera, a bottle of water, and some raisins, peanuts, crackers, and cheese. Yum, filled rations. We hadn't gone very far when Tiki bolted over the side of the jeep. Miss Frizzle brought the jeep to a screaming halt. I looked to see if Tiki was all right, but she was already running down a path. We piled out and followed after her. When we found her, She was standing in front of a flat rock. She pointed to a brownish cube on top of the rock. "Aha," she said. "Anyone know what this is?" "A brown blob," Carlos said doubtfully. Tikki was so excited she didn't even hear Carlos. "This is wombat dung." We all looked blank. This is how wombats mark the territory. They make the dung square so it won't roll off. A flat surface. There should be a wombat not too far from here. She walked briskly off into the grassland. We followed quietly. Soon she pointed to some footprints in a sand area. "His clothes," we whispered. A second later, she reached down and scooped up a big furry creature that looked sort of like an oversized bear cub. The creature had been napping and was now blinking sleepily at us. "This is a wombat," she said. "They are not usually out during the day. This fella should be asleep in his burrow." Several cameras clicked. "He's kind of cute," Phoebe said. Arnold was peering at the wombat from behind her. Liz crawled out of Miss Frizzle's bag for a closer look. I snapped a picture. "He's a pretty gentle guy. Wombats only eat grasses and plants. They can hardly see, but they have excellent senses of smell and hearing. Notice how bristly his backside is. This shields him from predator. When he is sleeping in his burrow, if a predator attempts to get into the burrow and tries to climb over him, Mr. Wombat simply crushes him against the roof of his burrow. And look at these teeth." She opened the wombat's mouth. "They never stop growing, so they never get ground down." Tikki put the blinking wombat down. "Let's let him get back to sleep." Okay, back to the jeep. We went back to the jeep. "The wombat is a marsupial," Miss Frizzle explained as we drove along. "What makes marsupials different from other mammals is that they finish growing the young in an exterior pouch instead of inside the mother. Marsupials, mammals with a pouch. Marsupials are furry and warm-blooded like other mammals, but they are different in one big important way. The babies are born before they are ready to live outside the mother. The tiny hairless newborns crawl to a special pouch under mother's belly. Once there, each baby fastens onto a nipple and starts drinking milk. Even after marsupial babies are big enough to leave the pouch, they still hop back into sleep, eat, or to escape when danger threatens. How many marsupials? There are more than 260 different kinds of marsupials, and most of them live in Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania. Only wild marsupial in the US is the opossum. The biggest marsupial is a kangaroo. Smallest is a marsupial mouse, which would fit in your hand. Suddenly, Tikki yelled, "Stop!" Miss Frizzle stood on the brakes, and Tikki jumped out of the magic school jeep again. She went crashing out into the bush. We heard her rustling around for a minute or two, and then she returned with a nasty-looking creature under her arm. It looked sort of like a cross between a weasel and a dog. Most of its fur was black, but there was white fur under its neck, and it was bald in patches. I made sure I got some good pictures from a safe distance. "This is one of our pride and joys," Tikki said, with a fond smile at the creature, who was thrashing about and flashing its teeth. We all backed up. I sure didn't want to feel those teeth. Tasmanian devil. These guys make such nasty noises, grunts, barks, and screams. that they got the name Devil. They used to be all over Australia, but now they just live here. She was petting the animal as if it were a kitten, though it looked as if it wanted to eat her. She held Tasmanian Devil out to Phoebe, who backed up so fast she stepped on Donald's toe. It was the meanest looking creature I had ever seen. What does he eat? I asked. I hoped he didn't eat children. Oh, you don't want to know, said Tiki with a big smile. Anything that's dead. They make terrible noises and fight one another when they find carrion or dead thing. That's how this little cutie got these bold patches. It looks kind of dangerous, said Anna, still holding his toe. Can he kill? Tasmanian devils do occasionally kill small animals with a big bite on the back of the neck, but they prefer the meat dead. Old and rottener, the better. We all groan. They are great at clearing out rotten and dead animals. Nowadays, farmers leave the devils alone, which is good news for the species. You mean people used to hunt them? Yeah, they thought the devils were a menace, and not just people. The Tasmanian tiger used to kill them too. Dickie looked sad. Why did the tiger stop killing them? Unfortunately, Tasmanian tiger is extinct. As we know, people used to hunt the tiger to protect the farm animal. But if you kids the tiger trapped a dog-like animal, just let me know. Tiki the brightened up and set the devil down. Tasmanian devil started doing a strange spinning dance. Liz, who had been looking curiously at this devil from a nearby rock, leaped back onto the Fritchie's shoulder. Wow, I said, what's he doing? Spinning around like that. Oh, he's just showing off a bit, trying to scare us. He's not really spinning around, he's just turning from side to side so rapidly that it looks like he's spinning. You know, like in the cartoon, Tiki winked at us. Tasmanian devil finished spinning and scuttled off into the underbrush. We all climbed back into the jeep. Isn't the Tasmanian devil a marsupial too? I asked. Fair dinkum, said Tiki. Tasmanian devil gives birth to about 50 little rice-sized babies or joys who all crawl as fast as they can to the pouch. For babies latch on to the mother's nipples. They stay there until they are mature enough to live on their own. At that moment, we heard a wild laughing sound that was somehow familiar. It made me shiver. Fever jumped, landing on Arnold's other foot. The kookaburra. I knew where to find him. Sounds like that one is heading toward the mainland. That's where we should go too. So Tiki, follow that kookaburra to the bus. Let the fridge. The end.